Hey guys, what's going on? KP here. We're back with another episode of the KP Podcast. This is the podcast where we get to know some of your favorite bands a little bit more. Maybe you don't know these bands, so you're going to get to know them a little bit more on the more personal level, see who they are behind the scenes kind of thing here. Today, we got a bass player from a band called Pyrotechnica. His name is Ben Iniguez. Ben, how you doing today?
Doing good.
You staying safe over there?
I'm trying to keep my sanity.
Now, how are you staying sane with the COVID-19 stuff?
Probably like everybody else, watching a lot of Netflix. I'm doing a lot of writing. You know, that's been one thing that's been helping me. But
Good.
The two things that's probably keeping me going.
Gotcha. I just finished Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Hulu, all the episodes. I just blasted through that. An excellent show if anyone is looking for something new to watch. Who all is in Pyrotechnica, and where are you guys from?
So there's four of us. Me, I'm the bass player. I'm from a small little town that's actually like south of the Tucson. It's called Rio Rico. And then our vocalist, Scarlett, she's actually from Taiwan, but for most of her life she spent here in Tucson.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and our guitar player Dustin, he is actually from Hawaii, and he came here for school. So that's how he found his way over here. And then our current drummer right now, Josh, he's like born and raised here in Tucson.
So there's a couple of you guys from the same area, but a couple from different places of the world. How did the band really form?
The whole project is mainly both Scarlett and I's project. That because we were in another band, and it went south, and we had been in other prior bands, and we really wanted to do something that was just going to be fun for us. That was just going to be like no stress at all, like. Nobody's just trying to make it. Nobody's like trying to force every band member to like do ridiculous stuff.
Right.
Which usually, that's unfortunate how sometimes that kind of goes, and you kind of get trapped with like this obsessed band leader. But yeah, so we decided that we just wanted to do it. I told her like, I'm going to write like the most metalcore generic music ever, and like I just want you to sing over. I was like, I just want you to sing over it. That's all I want you to do. Like you'll come up with all the lyrics, and we were like, all right, cool, let's do it. So we wrote a few songs, and we just needed the people, like the guns for hire kind of thing. That was just originally what it was going to be. And Dustin was a guy I was working with at Guitar Center. We were both doing lessons. We were like, there was like a Guitar Center that just opened up, and we just got hired, and we were going to be just starting the lesson studio there. And so he was totally down. He's just like, yeah, sure, man, you write whatever, and I'll do it. And then we had another drummer originally that I was in a death metal band, and he decided that he was like the only drummer that I was like, this guy can like learn all the songs easily. So I asked him, and he was originally part of it. Josh didn't come into the picture actually until like about almost 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, we just had him join we knew him from another band that was in town, pretty much.
Now, how would you describe your sound to people that might not have heard of you before, people listening right now that go, this sounds interesting, but what do they sound like?
It's always weird with that question. I usually just kind of take it from what I hear from other people, and usually they're pretty on point with what they're saying, and I'll usually hear like about two different things. I usually hear like we're like an alternative metal electronic band.
Okay.
And the electronic part comes from we're heavily like we like to use synth stuff in our music a lot of like maybe like dubstep stuff or like some very like techno kind of sounding things, or I don't know. It's just we love to incorporate it into a good majority of it. The other thing I'll usually hear is like we're like we sound very anime, like an anime band. Like, yeah, if you watch like an anime opening, you know, like that's pretty much what we try to like stay around that area, because that's what we all pretty much love, is like anime music.
Now, I like to listen to the bands before I dive in and talk to them, so I have an idea of what I'm getting myself into. You guys sound good. I mean, you're talking to a guy that grew up on original Attack, so I have no problem with synth. I love that stuff. And Scarlett, she's one hell of a vocalist. So definitely, I could hear like the metalcore influences and whatnot there. Speaking of influences, what really brought you guys into fruition here? What bands made you go, yes, let's be this kind of band?
Oh God, I'm not too sure. You know, I mean, I feel like a lot of what ended up happening with our music kind of probably came from not necessarily like your most typical bands. I feel like especially with like Scarlett, I think like a lot of her musical influences are like pop, a lot of pop music that's happening, and not just like your like American top 40 pop. Like she listens to like K-pop, like all the time, and she usually gets a lot of her vocal melodies from like those sort of things, like her inspirations. And as far as like me, like what I listen to and what I try to go about, I mean, like I said, I love anime music, and I there's like this band, I'm not sure if you've heard of them. They're called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Well, if you get a chance, you should check them out. They are an insane like Japanese band that's written a bunch of like anime music, opening anime music, notably like the anime Parasite. And they're all over the place. They got two vocalists. They have like synthesizers all over. They insert like death metal, jazz music, and like crazy dance music into their stuff. But they have like these catchy choruses, and that's kind of what I love. Is just like that freedom, just to be able to be like, all right, we could be heavy in this one little section here and just be like the biggest trolls in the world, but then like our choruses can be like pop sounding over here. And then it gets an awesome reaction, especially live, because like people don't know what to do with us sometimes. They're like, man, that was really heavy, but there's like no screaming in here, and I want to like hit somebody, but then like this chorus comes in, and then I want to sing, and yeah. So I mean, that's kind of where it all kind of wraps around. It's just a lot of pop music and just a lot of anime listening.
Now, that definitely makes your sound a little bit more original than just saying, all right, we're going to sound like Attack. We're going to sound like the Devil Wears Prada. We're going to, you know what I mean? A little bit more different influences bringing a sound together. And you guys have some releases out right now, including your 2017 self-titled album. Now, what was the writing, recording process like for that album?
Oh, man, that was such a old album. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago. So that album, the weird thing about that album, most of those songs were written, I think, like in 2015. It was crazy because like I had written a bunch of songs before, you know, Dustin had joined the band and our first drummer, and we made like an EP, and we took like maybe 3 of the songs I wrote and we put them on there. But then we had like 6 or 7 songs that were just like, they were still written and we didn't do anything with them, and we were playing them live. And that album, I think, was just like this collection of like everything that I had written originally, and we were just like, we just need to put something, we take all these songs, we just need to record them and put them down. So when we finally did it, like in 2016, we started like actually recording them. You know, we had a good idea already what these songs were going to sound like. We played them live already, and you know, we weren't really open to changing too much with them. It was a very straightforward process. And yeah, I mean, like that's all I can really remember from those songs when we had written them. We had a different drummer at the time too. We had the drummer. If you look at the album art, Scarlett did all our album art, and she made us into like anime characters on that cover. And it's like our drummer's like this really buff like dude with like 2 swords. It's pretty gnarly.
Now, what about
and that's kind of what he was.
What about the 2019 album after that, Through the Looking Glass? Any differences in writing? Anything you remember more about this album?
Yeah, huge difference with the writing between those two albums. The first album, like when I first started writing with Scarlet, we were writing everything like on Guitar Pro. And are you familiar with Guitar Pro?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like this, like that. Like if anybody's not familiar with it, it's like a writing program where you can kind of like tab out all your songs, you can hear it back, but it's like a MIDI and it sounds like Super Mario Bros. Or something. Whenever you're listening back to your songs. So like every time we listened to it, it would always sound like a video game, and it would be a little hard to be like inspired by it. But like that's what we had. But after the 2017 album, I got a little bit more inspired to start doing my own recording and like start building up a studio, and then we started doing our own pre-production. And with that and having that, you're able to like listen back to your music a lot better.
Absolutely.
You're able to listen like you're able to like listen to like the vocals, and you're able to be like, that actually doesn't sound as good as it did in the practice space, or like this doesn't actually sound as good as it did live, you know. So like having that tool was a big change for us. And then after that, the first album too, we really started understanding how to use synthesizers and extra like guitar layers live and how to recreate that. So that opened a whole new door for us too, because now we were able to like really color things up with our music. And some people might be against that. I've heard like so many things of like people who are more traditionalists who are like, oh, you know, we're not recreating, like there's no actual person playing the synth stuff. There's no actual person playing the second guitar part.
There's always going to be people like that, especially when you play them live. You'll have layer effects going through the PA system or something like that. And they're fake. They're not faking it, dude. It just makes it sound better.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody's doing it. Like it's hard to like just be in this world that you're thinking like, oh yeah, like real musicians don't do that. They don't use like backing tracks or anything like that. It's like
right,
this is the world we're in.
And you said you do recording, so you're a little bit familiar. Imagine if, I don't know, all albums had raw vocals, raw guitars, no effects. Yeah, everyone's faking it in that instance, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's still those albums that are still out, that are still coming out that are like that.
Right.
But you know, once we figured how to do all that, like I said, like it was really cool because we were able to finally do some, like how you said you were into Attack. We got to do some like Attack kind of stuff in like some little areas of our songs, which was cool, you know. And along with that, because we were starting to get more into that, and I was able to like have like Dustin come over here and track some things. He was able to start actually writing his own parts like into things. He was able to like look at some of my things that I was writing and be like, I think you could actually make this better by like doing this. And he put it his guitar player or like take on it, because I'm not a guitar player, so I can't fully write like the most coolest guitar stuff. But yeah, it would just kind of open up the doors for all of us to be able to start throwing in our own thing. So I would say Through the Looking Glass album is definitely a better representation of all of us as musicians.
That's very well said. I definitely think as albums progress, I mean, this is just common sense, but people will grow and learn, not with just how music works, but how recording works and different producers and this and that. So I like hearing these, how bands go about writing and recording albums, because I like hearing and seeing the growth from the band themselves. What's coming up for the future of the band? I know things are a little weird right now in the world, but I don't know if you guys have any plans or not.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to keep as busy as we can, with what's going on. The goal, I think, this year for us was we were definitely gonna try to focus in on a select amount of songs and really polish them up, and then just have them released throughout this year. The goal was to be like doing some touring and stuff, but who knows when that's going to happen,
Yeah.
But that, and I think another goal that we had for ourselves to make sure that, and people can be looking out for this, is like we really wanted to make sure we went about almost like a little rebranding ourselves and kind of getting our whole image kind of polished up and just kind of making ourselves look a little bit more beyond just like a local band anymore, and making sure that nobody, like if you stumbled upon our page, you wouldn't think, oh, this is like a local band over here. And that's kind of been like a main thing that we've been trying to focus in on this year. So yeah.
I think that's a goal every band ever should have, just because we're past the point of, I really don't know how to word this, but I want to go back to 2010 when like all Facebook page bands didn't really look that great because it was just coming out of the MySpace era. And now we have the tools and the everything to make it look as professional as possible. So I think that's a good goal for yourselves, and basically anyone in any band out there should set for themselves. Any final words? Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry. I was just one last thing. Just like, it's like, why wouldn't you? You know, you have so many resources available like these days, and like everybody's able to make themselves like look like this pro recording band. And it's like, if you really want to keep up with what's going on around here, you gotta stay with what's going on. You gotta make sure that you're making yourself look good and making sure that you're creating good music, good content, and making sure people want to follow your band. But yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. Any final words for fans out there listening?
Yeah, you know, for all the people that have been just like following us, or if you want to check us out, you know, thank you guys for all the support, and you know, we're working hard, and we're going to try to get as much content as we can with what's going on right now. We're really working to make sure that we give you guys the best experience, and keep a lookout.
Very well said. Ben, I'm going to talk to you here in a second off air, okay?
All right, sounds good.
All right, thanks for being on the show today. That's Ben Iniguez, the bassist from the band Pyrotechnica. If you're into alternative metal or an alternative metalcore kind of style, I definitely suggest checking these guys out. Their vocalist, Scarlett, again, one hell of a vocalist. You got to check these guys out. They got 2 albums out right now, a self-titled and an album from 2019 called Through the Looking Glass. Definitely worth checking out. That's going to do it for this episode of the KP Podcast. Appreciate you guys listening as always. We'll see you all next time.